Good morning. I am 4 minutes earlier today. As always, if you're watching a recording, you can fast forward or stay with us. Good morning, Gina. Good morning, Ari. Good morning, Anne. Good morning, Jean. Good morning, Yanni. Do you have any updates on Leo's mother? Okay, Leo's mother in the hospital with kidney infection. So sorry to hear that. And we will continue including her in our practice, in our dedication. Anyway, it is time for us to start. So, yesterday we talked about the first step to developing a compassionate heart, which is acknowledging that suffering is part of life. So, we really need to stop trying to find false positivity in everything and simply accept that suffering exists everywhere in all of us. And at the same time, it's not all there is to life. It's just nobody's life is without suffering, no matter how much we try to will it out of our life. The second step to compassion, to developing compassion, is a bit more challenging. Here we actually need to open our heart to suffering and pain and learn to establish an appropriate relationship to it. The Buddha said, I teach one thing and one thing only, that is suffering and the end of suffering. And that brings us to the discussion of equanimity, that quality of mind that makes true compassion possible. Equanimity is quite an interesting and perhaps an unfamiliar state of an untrained mind because it means there is absolutely no judgment of ourselves or others. When we are in the mind state of equanimity, we just can't operate in notions of good or bad anymore. Distinctions like right and wrong, good and evil, simply stop existing. Being in the state of equanimity means seeing everything happening in life as either suffering or the end of suffering. So, what would happen if we looked at ourselves and all of the different things that we see and didn't judge any of it? We would see that some things bring pain, others bring joy, but there would be no guilt, no shame, no fear. How possible do you think that is, to have no judgment? And the promise of meditation practice is that, to dissolve all the boundaries, to dissolve all those concepts of good, bad, right, wrong, and just accept things the way they are. True compassion arises from that state of equanimity. And that kind of compassion can lead to very forceful action if needed, without any anger or aversion mixed into it. No like revenge component. For example, when we see a small child reaching for a hot burner on a stove, we instantly take action that can be very forceful. Our response is born out of the compassion that we feel. We pull the child back away from the harm. And that doesn't mean that we reject the child or condemn the child for their unskillful behavior. We just act to pull them away from harm. And again, here we're circling back to what the Buddha instructed us to develop through the practice of loving kindness. And that is to care for any beings, for all beings, as a mother would care for and protect her only child. To view life compassionately, we have to look at what is happening and also at the conditions that gave rise to it. In other words, instead of just looking at the last point, this unskillful behavior of ourselves or another person that's hurting us in some way, we need to see all of the parts that led to this unskillful behavior. So have you ever had the experience of feeling resentful towards someone, and then suddenly you have an insight into what their history might have caused them to behave in a certain way? And then you can see the conditions that gave rise to that situation, not simply the unskillful, hurtful behavior itself. For me, this point was driven home very strongly when my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's a few years ago. All my life, I had been so annoyed and frustrated with her for always being late. In fact, I kept repeating to myself and her, it's as if you don't even understand the concept of time. How can you be late everywhere? This was one point of contention with my mom throughout decades for me. And when I finally heard the diagnosis and did some research into Alzheimer's, I learned that yes, in fact, many people who develop this disease literally understand the concept of time differently. It was like a light bulb moment for me. But by the way, don't misunderstand me and don't worry, not everybody who is habitually late develop Alzheimer's necessarily, but it may be a contributing factor if you do have Alzheimer's. Anyway, in that moment when I understood the conditions that led to that behavior in my mom, that kind of made her be late all the time, suddenly all my annoyance, all my frustration just fell away and never returned. And it was genuine. It's not like I had to stop myself whenever my mom did something that would have normally frustrated me and to remind myself, oh no, she has Alzheimer's, so just let her be. No, the frustration just never was never there anymore. I was genuinely not annoyed with her anymore. I stopped judging her sincerely, completely. And this kind of understanding and acceptance does not mean that we dismiss or condone a person's negative behavior. But we can look at all the elements that go into making up that person's life, and we can acknowledge their conditioned nature. That opens up space for forgiveness and compassion. And that's truly healing, and it can heal even old moments in the past when you have been hurt. It's quite powerful. So let's explore this together. Take a comfortable position. And as usual, take a few moments to acknowledge all the circumstances of your practice today. Internal, external. With each breath, dissolving the boundary between the inner and the outer, reminding yourself of the oneness, interconnectedness of everything there is. And allow this breath to be soft and easy, uncontrolled. Invite effortlessness into your body. Perhaps scan your body from top to bottom with each breath, grounding, finding your space on this earth, claiming it, but without effort. Yesterday, we did a compassion practice toward somebody we know in great pain, physical or mental. And today, we will take it a step further and practice compassion towards somebody who have caused us pain. So let's start by sending loving kindness toward ourselves. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well in body and mind. May I be happy, healthy, and at ease. May I know deep, natural peace. Of course, you can choose your own words. I'll give you about a minute to connect to your own experience. Now let that go and bring to mind a challenging person in your life, somebody who has caused you pain. And choose the degree of your hurting depending on how open you're feeling today, how likely you are to connect to that person's suffering. So maybe it's a person who's just mildly hurt you, not necessarily all the way repeatedly, or maybe it is totally your choice. Holding that person in your mind's eye, direct your compassion phrases to them. May you be free from your pain and sorrow. May you find peace. Just one or two phrases. These ones, or whatever phrases have more meaning for you, that resonate better with you. Again, I'll be silent so that you can connect with your own experience. Just like we did yesterday, if you feel yourself moving from this gentle trembling of the heart that is compassion into states of fear, anger, despair, pause and accept that this is natural. You're not doing anything wrong. Use your breath to anchor yourself in this moment, to ground once again, and then continue. May you be free of your pain. May you find peace, or whatever phrases you're using. And now take a nice, deliberate inhale and exhale, effortless, coming out of this practice. As you go through your day today, I invite you to continue reflecting on what we discussed today. Not just the end result, not just the unskillful behavior of that challenging person who has caused you suffering, but all the conditions that brought this unskillful behavior on, and not from the point of view of excusing that behavior, not at all. Just seeking to understand, reminding yourself that everything comes out of suffering, and everything, all the suffering, can be dissolved over and over again. Thank you so much for being here. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you tomorrow.